Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Best Today Podcast. I am your host, Shantae Grant, and today I want to talk to you about something that, I talk about often. Today I'm talking about two words. I talk about them together, apart, because they're two powerful words. I recently shared on Threads, the change you're looking for is in two words. It's found in two words, small and consistent. And I got a lot of feedback from that, a lot of likes, reshares, DMs, people saying I needed to hear that. And that means I need to bring it to the podcast so that you can hear it as well. And that I can elaborate, right? Two words, small and consistent. First, what I'm going to do is we're going to link in our show notes, besttoday.co/142. Every episode where I have talked about the power of small and consistency, because I want you to understand it's not a one-time message, because if it were, I wouldn't have to continue to say it, right? So I want to link those so you can listen to those as well. But we're going to take those two words today. I'm going to be brief and get right to it. Why are those two words? Notice the conjunction in the middle, and we all know what and does, right? That means we need the both what's on the left and the right of and, small and consistent. And the reason why I posted that thread, so the way I use threads is just as I'm talking to friends or thinking about something comes to my mind. If I think I can say this concisely enough, I will go and just share it and go about my merry way, right? There's no strategy or like premeditating. These are the things that I'm thinking about or talking to someone about in real time. So what led me to write that is, I think I've lost count, but so many times over the last month alone, just through client work and talking to customers, I have heard people undermine small things, like small steps, or use the inability to take large steps as an excuse for not to start something. And I keep saying the same things over and over. And so we're going to say it again today. Okay. Let's start with small. Small, first and foremost, the way a lot of you are using it is a comparative word. You call something small because you've seen what you think is bigger or better or more grand somewhere else, right? And so you hold what you can or what you want to do up against that other thing you've seen, and you make a judgment on the size of what you can do or what you want to do, and you deem it less than. You've already placed a judgment on your efforts before you ever made them, right? So the first thing is to become aware of what's going on so that you can unlearn this way of thinking and classifying your efforts. Because again, a lot of times you're doing this before you even did it. You didn't do something, or this does happen, but what I'm seeing is it's not, I did this thing and I'm calling it small, which I see that as well. But now I'm seeing, like, before I even do it, I'm going to go in and just basically say, this is so insignificant. This is not enough that I'm not even going to do it, because just off the jump, it's not enough. It's not big enough. It's not grand enough. I was talking to someone and she was saying the reason that she hasn't worked out is because she doesn't have the time or the capacity or the energy to do like a really long, she's used to like hardcore workouts where you're drenched in sweat. And I was just like, they got other kind of ways to work out. Actually, there are probably more ways to work out that don't leave you that way than do. Do you know moving your body can be going for a walk, skipping, jump rope, doing squats while you watch a TV show, getting on the treadmill, taking that sucker all the way up, watching a show, keeping it flat, walking, stretching, finding a free yoga class or a stretch on YouTube, getting on the Peloton. There are so many, playing kickball, right? Going and playing kickball in the park, going to a playground and going back and forth on the monkey bars. There is so much room and space for movement. And I think I talk about this in the episode where I talk about the things I learned from Pilates. I think so. Let me make a note to add the Pilates episode. What I've learned is when it comes to movement and exercise, the classes that don't leave me drenched are the ones I feel the next day. And the reason I feel them the next day is because it has brought a change in my body. Some muscle, something is in a different state than it was before I did the thing. And that's what we're going for, right? To be strengthened. These muscles have to be torn, to be rebuilt stronger. And a lot of times that takes small and slow efforts. And sometimes, yes, it includes lifting heavy, but there's also a lot of power in 5 pounds. If you don't believe me, I want you to take 2 5-pound weights right now, put them in your hands and hold your arms out like you're holding a platter and just hold it there. It'll speak to you. Just give it time. You just hold them. And it'll tell you that 5 pounds can do something, right? You could do that with 3 pounds and just keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. At some point, you're going to feel it, right? Small efforts. So the first thing is just to unlearn making judgments about the thing you're doing and being comparative in that it's like, this is small because I'm aware that there's this bigger option. And it might be that you're comparing it to something you yourself have done and been able to do in the past. But what does that have to do with today in this present moment? This is a whole nother lesson on the importance of being in today and in the now and in the present, because so many people come into the present wearing the baggage of the past and the future that's not even here, right? It's like, because I know I could do this thing in the past and I can't do it the way I used to, I won't do it now because the way I do it now isn't good enough because it wasn't as good as how I thought it was back then. You can rewind that and hear that again. And maybe if you rewind it and listen to it again, you'll hear the absurdity within it, right? But the humanity in it. So I understand, I empathize, but as a teacher, as an encourager, I can't stay at empathy because I don't want to see you stay where you are. And I believe you don't want to either. I wouldn't be me, right? If I were going to encourage you while also understanding how you're thinking and where you are, but I want to move you from there, right? Small simply means broken down steps that allow you to do the thing that you want to do in a manageable and sustainable way. And sustainable is the key word here, right? Because the great thing about small, what I love about small is that it's sustainable. I'm not going to pass out because this is something I can do consistently, which we're going to get to that word in a second. And I'm going to go to my favorite story of all time that I've probably mentioned. What is this, episode 142? I've at least mentioned it in 42 episodes, probably more. And that is our friend, the tortoise. He taught us, she taught us, slow and steady wins the race. It's sustainable. Right? You don't have to stop and take a break because you're tired because you are moving in ways that are sustainable. And really, I'm going to talk about this in next week's episode. So come back and listen to episode 143, unless while you're listening, 143 is available. Listen to that next. But I'm talking about this next week's. We all have limits. We have limits on our time, our capacity, our energy, our resources. And so small helps us to move, but while respecting and honoring the fact that we have limitations in our lives, right? So my invitation with this word small is asking you to first acknowledge, right? You got to acknowledge it first so that you can remove the judgment and the negative connotation and association with small steps, right? With small things, with moving in small steps. Can we agree to take our eyes off of what other people are doing or have so that your eyes and your energy and your mind can be on you and what you're working toward. And we're not going to say what my thing is small because her thing is bigger, or my thing is small because her thing is grander, or my thing is small because in the past I could do bigger or more, etc. Small. At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today. Today, we have a 5-star review of the Anytime Today journal from Ellen, who writes, "A different kind of journal in all the best ways. The ATJ, which is short for Anytime Today Journal, is such a smooth entry ramp into journaling. I have tried journaling many times in my life, but I've always felt intimidated by the blank page or guilty for not being consistent, which led to zero journaling. This product is so beautiful that I want to carry it with me. I love having those simple, powerful prompts to help me tune in to what's going on in my mind and heart, and being reminded that it can be used whenever without pressure of being consistent is really the ticket for me. Some days I grab for it multiple times, then a few weeks might go by before the next entry, and that is okay. I do know that each time I reach for it and use it, it's like a sigh of relief for my soul. If you've ever had the journaling overwhelm or guilt before, try this one. It's different in all the best ways. Well, where were you when we needed to write some copy for the Anytime Today journal? Because that's it. Thank you so much. What I really love, where's that line where it says, it's like a sigh of relief for my soul? I relate to that so much because I too use the Anytime Today journal. And I can't think of a time I've ever written in it where I didn't find myself just breathing like that deep breath and then just breathing lighter and easier while using it, after using it. So can completely relate. And thank you so much for taking the time to share those kind words about your experience using the Anytime Today journal. If you do not have the Anytime Today journal, I want you to go to besttoday.co right now to order yours today. We also have podcast episodes talking all about the Anytime Today journal, which I'll link in today's show notes as well. You can find the show notes to this episode on our website as well, besttoday.co. Thank you so much again, Ellen, for sharing just how the Anytime Today journal is different and works for you. You can get yours right now by going to besttoday.co and click shop, and you'll see the Anytime Today journal right there in the drop down. Thanks again, Ellen, so much for that 5-star review. The second word, right, because there's an and, is consistent. And here's the thing about consistency. Consistency isn't dependent upon everything working out the way you want it to. Consistency doesn't even need you to feel like it. You got to be able to be consistent even when you don't feel like being consistent. You know, there's the episode, I'm going to make sure, I just thought about another one where I talk with Brandy Crawford from Stay Snatch. And we talk about this whole concept of motivation. And it's like, baby, the motivation's got to come from, it's got to be from you. It's got to come in. I can encourage you. But that motive, right? The reason why you do something, you know, when someone, what's the motive? Why did he kill the person? Why did they do this crime? What's the motive, right? That's the internal thing, right? That's what, you know, that's that fire in you. And that needs to be there for the days. And that's the thing. That's there for the days when you don't feel like it. Not so much the days when you do. You usually don't need it then. But consistency means that you're willing to keep going, keep trusting that your deposits are bringing about progress or change, depending on the circumstance we're talking about, even when you don't see it. And that's another thing. We stopped and was like, I don't see no results. Girl, I went walking 3 days in a row and I still can't run 10 miles yet. You can't see my face. This would be more helpful if this was a video. I'm just trying to make sense of some of the ways y'all math don't be mathing, right? So you walked for 3 days straight. That's fantastic. But then you was like, I'm gonna do small 3 days, and then you tried to jump to an extra large, supersized with fries. Right? We're not gonna go 1, 2, 3, 42. Sometimes that happens. Real life, but not very, 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 very rarely. And very, very rarely when we're talking about physical, right, things too. But one of my favorite examples is the story of the ice cube sitting on the burner, right? And you start it at a certain temperature and then you just crank it 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree. And it looks like this thing, nothing is happening. You turn it, you turn it, you turn it. You're just turning it every time one. And it looks like there is, to the human eye, there is physically nothing happening here to change this ice cube. And then you turn it one day and you hit that degree and that sucker just starts to move. It starts to melt, right? The thing is, it wasn't the 26 that had the magic in it. There are things happening that you can't see. It seems like nothing is happening because you don't see the change. But what you need to know is your efforts are being stored, and sometimes you can't see the progress. And so you have to keep that in your mind. You have to move with that knowing in yourself that I don't see a physical change. I don't see this thing melting. I'm going to just keep hitting these degrees though, because I know it's going to hit a degree where I'm going to see it. And it might be way down the road. But what you don't see are all those clicks, what it's doing on the inside, right? So things are changing. It's just changing in a place, in a space we can't see. And that happens with us, right? We sometimes have changes and it's on the inside. People, they might see you, you look the exact same. Oh, there goes Shantae. Yeah, she looks the same. But what they don't see is the work that's happening inside of me and the change that's happening inside. And over time, it might be reflected outwardly, right? Whether that's in mannerisms, peace, communication, ability to be better at regulating emotions or my communication, whatever that might be. But we have to understand that a lot of the things that are happening, the progress, it's happening internally and we don't see it. So consistency it looks differently for all of us. But the thing that's the same about consistency is that it is adding up for you and it is working in your favor. Even when it doesn't look like it is, things are happening. Turning the degrees and seeing no change in the structure of the ice, but then hitting that number and then woof, watching it change. Right. So I just want to encourage you. Your consistency needs you. Your consistency needs you to understand that it's beyond what you see and how you feel about it. When you've made your mind up that you're going to do something, the small period with consistency it's so powerful. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but what is the word I'm looking for? You can't beat it. It's a sure bet, right? But yeah, I was saying consistent looks different, right? So consistency doesn't necessarily mean something that you do every day. That's one form of consistency, something that's done daily. It can be something that's done weekly, something done twice a week on the same time or the same day. Consistency is just choosing to keep going even when you don't feel like it in the manner in which you said you're going to set out to do it. And keeping it small. And small means different things to us depending upon what you're doing, where you're doing, and who you are and what your capacity is, your resources, your energy, all these different things. And learning how to respect and honor small helps you with consistency because it can be very hard to be consistent with something that takes everything out of you, like doing that over and over and over again because you're just being depleted. That's why small is much more sustainable. Trying to do sprints every day or run 5 miles every day isn't the only way to be a runner. You can walk daily. And then after however long a time, say, I'm going to progress to jogging for 1 minute daily, then jogging 2 minutes, then jogging 3 minutes, and then jogging 4 minutes twice a week. And over time, with consistency, you will progress and you will meet whatever your end goal is, which brings me to another point that is very important and must be said. And I talk about this a lot too, maintenance, right? Knowing when you've done enough and it's just now time to maintain. When I talk about small and consistent, it's not from the place of telling you there's always going to be something, some goal to accomplish, something to make progress on. No, I'm coming from a place of talking and working with humans of all ages and stages, right? Teens, college students, young adults, older adults far older than me who I work with on a weekly basis who will not make a move because they think their steps aren't grand enough. And if they aren't big enough, they won't move at all, right? Or they start out and then they burn out because they try to start big and grand and fast and just things that go exceed their capacity with consistency. So I'm coming from that place of talking to you when that is where you are. It's not from a place of, girl, we always got to be, what you grinding on now? We always got to be doing something small and consistent. What are you working on? What progress are you making? Understand when you've reached the thing you wanted to reach, now maybe it's small and consistent is to help you maintain. It's not to always keep progressing, but maintenance takes work too, right? You have a lawn. That sucker probably, you can't just be like, well, it looks green, I can just done, right? But small and consistent work hand in hand. You need one and the other, right? Because you can be consistent, but if you're trying to be consistent in something that's beyond your capacity too much, you're going to burn. You can do small, but if you just do small, on occasion, that's also not going to work for you. So the two words, right, that I believe have the power to change you and your life are small and consistent. And I want to keep this conversation going. So join me over in the Best Today community so we can continue talking. The community is a safe space that I have created. It is actively engaged. It's the number one place to be if you're on the journey of living a life of intention, if you're trying to prioritize your mental, emotional, physical well-being. If you want encouragement, support, live calls, co-working hours, a video library with exclusive video classes and workshops that I've led, and sometimes bring in a friend or two to talk with me. I created all of this to give you one safe space with all the resources that you might need. And all of this is available to you at besttodaycommunity.com, which will also be linked here in the show notes. And you can access online, on app, tablet, your phone, Android, Apple devices. You can join us today at besttodaycommunity.com. And remember, the first month is free when you purchase a Best Today guide. So if you're already thinking of purchasing a Best Today guide, you get that and you get your first month in the community for free. All right, my friends, thank you for being present with me for this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, talking about small and consistent. Let's talk about it. Keep the conversation going over in the Best Today community. And remember that everything I do here on the podcast and within Best Today and really in my life is to help you to live well. To learn more about how to get started with Best Today resources, you can go to besttoday.co/quiz. And if you'd like to hear more from me, I invite you to read my online publication. You can subscribe at forthoseonthejourney.com, which we'll link to in the show notes as well. Thank you again for listening, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, you are going to love the Best Today guide. Our Better Than a Planner guide teaches you how to get clear on what you want, identify your self-destructive habits and behaviors, and intentionally create space to prioritize yourself every single day. Don't go the journey to being your best one today at a time without the Best Today guide. See inside its pages and order yours today at besttodayguide.com. Even better, when you order the Best Today guide, we gift you with your first month free inside of the Best Today membership. So what are you waiting for? We're giving you everything you need to trade busy for intention. Go to besttodayguide.com and order yours today and join thousands of women across the globe proclaiming each day, this is what my best today looks like.